DC, buckle up, because today we've got 3 stories that could shake the foundation of this franchise. First up, one of our most important coaches is being courted for a head coach job elsewhere. If he leaves, we gain draft picks, but lose critical experience right when we need it most. Second, there's a contract decision looming with a veteran wide receiver that could either cost us millions or leave us without a key piece. And third, the most explosive prediction of all, a potential trade for an elite edge rusher that would cost us our first-round pick. Are we ready to go all in? Stick around till the end, because every one of these moves could define the future of the Commanders. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Fam, we're just getting started. News 1. Commanders could lose Anthony Lynn, but gain 2 third-round picks. Let's kick things off with the biggest headline of the day, because this one has major implications, both short and long-term. The Buffalo Bills just requested permission to interview Anthony Lynn, our running backs coach and run game coordinator, for their head coach opening. Yeah, you heard that right. Head coach. Now let's talk about what losing Lynn would mean. This dude isn't just another assistant. He's a former NFL head coach with years of experience, and he's been a cornerstone in developing our ground game. In a staff where you've got a first-time offensive coordinator like David Blau, a QB room full of 30-something coaches, and an O-line led by guys promoted from within. Lynn is literally the anchor of experience, holding it all together. Imagine losing that right now, bro! But here's the twist. If Buffalo hires Lynn as their head coach, the Commanders would receive 2 third-round compensatory picks, one in 2027 and another in 2028. That's part of the Rooney Rule, which rewards teams that lose minority coaches to head jobs. And fam, we know how valuable those third-rounders are. Adam Peters has been rebuilding this roster from scratch, and we've been hurting for draft capital the last couple off seasons. We don't have many players worth trading for picks, so this could be one of the few ways to get extra selections. Now, is it worth it? From a pure strategy standpoint, 2 third-rounders are gold. You can draft starters, quality depth, or use them to move around the board. But from a coaching stability angle, losing Lynn right now is a gut punch. You've got an inexperienced OC, young coaches everywhere, and suddenly you're without the guy who knows how to handle tough situations and keep the locker room locked in. Listen, this is a classic trade-off, future capital versus present stability. So here's the real question for the Commanders. If Lynn leaves, who steps into his role? Do you promote from within again? Bring in someone from the outside with experience? Because, bro, you already promoted Blau. You already elevated your O-line staff. And if you keep promoting without bringing in fresh experience, you risk having a super green staff trying to guide Jaden Daniels in year 3. The year QBs are supposed to make that leap. On the flip side, those 2 third-rounders could be the difference between a complete roster and having holes at key spots. Imagine drafting a legit edge rusher, a safety, or a quality interior O-lineman in those rounds. That's long-term roster building, bro. But here's the dilemma. Would you rather have Lynn on staff helping Blau and the rest of the team navigate a crucial season? Or would you rather bet on the future with those picks? Because if Daniels doesn't take that leap in 2026, if the offense stalls, if the young staff can't handle the pressure, those picks won't matter if Dan Quinn isn't even around to use them. Bro, this is a high-stakes gamble, and I get both sides. If you're Adam Peters, those picks are tempting. But if you're Dan Quinn, losing Lynn right now is like losing your safety net. Let's be real. Blau's never been an OC before. The QB coaches are young. The O-line staff is new. Lynn was the guy who could say, I've been through this. Here's how you handle it. Without him, who fills that role? And fam, there's another layer. If Lynn gets hired in Buffalo, it means other teams see value in our staff. That's good for the organization's rep, but it also means we could start losing more people. If Lynn succeeds in Buffalo, other coaches on our staff might start getting calls. Suddenly, you're in a constant cycle of staff turnover. Not ideal when you're trying to build a competitive window around Jaden Daniels. Listen, this is the price of success, bro. So what now? First, Buffalo has to interview him. Then, they decide if they want to hire him. And if they do, the Commanders have to figure out how to fill that gap. Do you bring in a vet? Promote again? Give Blau more responsibility and hope he can handle it? Personally, if Lin leaves, the Commanders have to bring in someone with experience. You can't have a completely green staff in a year where Daniels needs to break out, where you've got to make the playoffs, where Dan Quinn is coaching for his future. You need stability, experience, and someone who's been through the fire before. But those two third-rounders, bro, they're tempting. If you use them right, you can build a roster that competes for years. But if Lin leaves and the staff can't handle the heat, those picks won't matter. Bro, this is an impossible decision. At the end of the day, I hope Lin stays. I think his value to this staff right now is greater than 2 third-round picks. But if he goes, I trust Adam Peters to use those picks wisely. That's what he does. Builds rosters with limited capital. All right, fam, that was the biggest story of the day. But now let's talk about a contract decision that's got everyone split. News 2. Should the Commanders extend Deebo Samuel? All right, bro, here's the question that's splitting the fan base right down the middle. Should the Commanders extend Deebo Samuel? When we traded for him from San Francisco, it felt like the perfect move. A physical, versatile receiver with playoff experience who could take pressure off Terry McLaurin and give Jaden Daniels another elite weapon. And at first, it worked. In the first 5 games of the season, Deebo was everywhere. Slot, outside, backfield, screens, jet sweeps, deep routes. You name it. The guy was a mismatch nightmare. He had 2 games with over 100 yards in that stretch, and it looked like Cliff Kingsbury had finally unlocked his full potential in the scheme. Bro, I was convinced this dude was the missing piece. But then, things shifted. Injuries started piling up, especially to Jaden Daniels. And the offense stalled. Deebo went from being a constant threat to more of a complementary piece. He finished the season with 72 catches, 727 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Solid numbers, sure, but not elite. Not the kind of numbers that scream, pay me $20 million a year. And that's where it gets tricky. Fam, Deebo hits free agency in 2026, and the Commanders have to decide, extend him, let him walk, or try to work out a team-friendly deal. I get both sides of the argument. On one hand, Deebo brought leadership, versatility, and professionalism to a young offense. He's a vet who's played in Super Bowls, knows what it takes to win in January, and can mentor the younger receivers. And when he's healthy, he's a problem. He can run routes, block, carry the ball. He does it all. Listen, that kind of versatility is rare, bro. But on the other hand, the Commanders are still building. New OC in David Blau, holes in the roster, other contract decisions coming up. And you've got to be smart with your cap space. Is it worth locking up big money in a 29-year-old receiver coming off an up-and-down season? Because, bro, if you give Deebo a fat contract and he doesn't produce, you're stuck with dead money and no flexibility. And here's another layer. What kind of role will Deebo have in Blau's offense? Kingsbury used him in a very specific way, but Blau might want a more vertical, timing-based system with fewer gadget plays. If that's the case, Deebo's value drops. If Blau wants to keep using that versatility, then Deebo still fits. Bro, this is a bet on a scheme we haven't even seen yet. So what should the Commanders do? I think the answer's somewhere in the middle. Don't give him a massive $20 million a year deal. But don't let him walk without trying to negotiate. Offer him a 2-year, team-friendly contract with production-based incentives. Something like 12 to 14 million per year, with bonuses if he hits certain numbers. That gives you flexibility, keeps a vet in the room, and doesn't tie you down long-term. But if Deebo wants 18 to 20 million per year, let him walk. Because, bro, with that kind of money, you can sign 2 or 3 players to fill key roster holes. You could bring in an edge rusher, a safety, an interior O-lineman, build depth. And right now, depth is more valuable than one expensive player. Listen, this is about building a complete roster, not just collecting stars. And let's not forget about Terry McLaurin. Terry is our WR1, the leader of the receiver room, and the guy who's been here through it all. If it comes down to paying Deebo or keeping Terry happy and well compensated, It's not even a question. Terry's the guy Jayden looks for in crunch time. He makes the tough catches. He never complains. So what happens with Debo? I think the most likely scenario is the Commanders offer him a short, team-friendly deal. If he takes it, great. If not, they let him walk and use that money elsewhere. Because, bro, this team is still building, and you can't tie up cap space in guys who aren't in their prime. And fam, here's another thing. Debo's coming off a season where injuries were a factor. Do you really want to bet big money on a guy who might keep dealing with physical issues? If you extend him and he gets hurt again, you're stuck with a contract you can't move and dead cap space. Bro, this is pure risk. At the end of the day, I think Debo was a great addition for what we needed in 2025. But in 2026, with a new OC, Jayden, in year 3 and roster holes to fill, I'm not sure it makes sense to commit big money to him. I'd rather use that cap space to build an elite defense, lock down the O-line, and add depth. But if Debo's down to stay for a reasonable price, then I'm all in. Having a vet like him around is never a bad thing, as long as the price is right. All right, bro, we've talked coaching changes, contract decisions. Now let's get into the trade prediction that's got everyone buzzing. News 3. Commanders predicted to trade for Max Crosby, fam. I saved this one for last because it's the juiciest, the most speculative, and the one that's got every fan dreaming. Bleacher Report just dropped a prediction that the Washington Commanders could trade for Max Crosby, the elite edge rusher from the Las Vegas Raiders. And bro, when I say elite, I mean it. This dude has had over 10 sacks in 3 of the last 4 seasons, including 14.5 in 2023. Let's start with why this makes sense from a needs standpoint. Our pass rush in 2025, one of the worst in the league, ranked 24th in pressure rate. We didn't have an alpha edge rusher, no one that offenses had to game plan around. And it showed. When you can't generate pressure with 4, you have to blitz. When you blitz, you leave holes in coverage. And when you leave holes, you get cooked. Bro, it's a vicious cycle. Max Crosby would fix that instantly. The guy's a beast. He can win one-on-ones, set the edge against the run, rush from multiple alignments, and he's got the motor to play 70-plus snaps a game. Put him in our defense, and suddenly you've got someone offenses have to respect. Someone who can wreck a game plan. Someone who can force turnovers. Listen, that kind of impact is priceless, fam. Now let's talk cost. According to Bleacher Report, the Commanders would have to give up their first-round pick, which would be top 10 after a 5-win season, and probably a second or third rounder too. Plus, they'd have to take on Crosby's contract, which is worth $106 million. But here's the thing. The Commanders have around $89.8 million in cap space, so we can absorb that deal. Now here's where it gets spicy. Is it worth trading your top 10 pick for Max Crosby? From a win-now perspective? Absolutely. If you believe Jayden Daniels is ready to compete for a Super Bowl in 2026, then trading for Crosby makes sense. Elite edge rushers are game changers in the playoffs. Look at the Niners with Bosa, the Chiefs with Chris Jones. Every recent Super Bowl team has had a dominant pass rusher. Bro, you can't win without QB pressure. It's that simple. But from a long-term roster building angle, it's more complicated. That top 10 pick could be a young edge rusher, a franchise tackle, a lockdown corner, someone on a rookie deal for 4 years, giving you cheap production. Trading that pick for Crosby means you're betting that your window is now, not 2 or 3 years from now. And fam, here's another wrinkle. Would the Raiders even trade Crosby? He's the face of their franchise, their best player. Trading him would be waving the white flag on their rebuild. But if they think they can get a top 10 pick and more, maybe they consider it, but it won't be easy. Listen, this ain't Madden. Bro, trades like this don't happen every day. So should the Commanders make this trade? I think it depends on how Dan Quinn and Adam Peters view the timeline. If they believe they're 1 or 2 pieces away from contending, then yeah, go get Crosby. Because bro, an elite edge rusher elevates your whole defense. Your corners don't have to cover as long. Your linebackers can play faster. Your secondary can take more risks. But if they think they're still building, that Jayden needs more time, that the roster isn't quite there yet, then no, That first-round pick could be the foundation of the next era. Here's my take. The Commanders should explore the trade, but it shouldn't be plan A. Check free agency. Check the draft. If nothing else works, then consider Crosby. Because, bro, trading a top 10 pick is a massive gamble. If it doesn't work, you're out a pick and stuck with a big contract. Bro, this is max risk, max reward. But imagine this. Jaden Daniels in year 3, Terry McLaurin, a solid O-line, and Max Crosby anchoring the defense. That's a team that can go toe-to-toe with anyone. That's a team that can win in January. That's a team that can bring the Commanders back to relevance. And fam, after years of mediocrity, bad decisions and disappointment,